bitten.
Yeah. And so that's when it just started to escalate. She was dragging my dog to the car.
What are you doing?
I got nervous and scared. I was like, please let my dog go. She marched up to me and she grabbed my arm and she shook me.
There are so many pieces to this case, it's like a puzzle.
This is Judy Justice. Mary Ann Sullivan is suing her former business partner, Kayla Phillips, for dog show costs, boarding fees, and RV storage.
Court come to order. All rise. Hello, Judge.
Be seated, please.
Case 1038 Sullivan versus Phillips.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, there are so many pieces to this case, it's like a puzzle. I'm going to have to separate it a little bit at a time. Miss Sullivan, you're involved in probably breeding and showing dogs.
Yes.
What kind of dogs?
Berger Picards and French Bulldogs, and I co-own a Beauceron.
Do you have pictures of those dogs?
Yes, I
I'd
do.
like to see. I know what a French Bulldog looks like. I'm just curious to see what the others look like.
I have a picture of the Beauceron, and this is a picture of my Westminster top 10 Berger Picard. They're both herding dogs.
Handsome. Handsome. Okay, and what kind of dogs are you involved in?
I have Beaucerons and Cane Corzos.
Okay, this is what I gather. The two of you met at some sort of a show, and you became friends. You, Miss Sullivan, who had been in the business for a long time, decided that you would mentor the defendant, and you had a house trailer?
An RV.
An RV. That Miss Sullivan allowed you to move on to her property. And on your property, you said you keep dog kennels because in addition to showing dogs, you also, I assume, board them?
I just was starting to board them when Kayla moved over.
That would have been a good thing to have someone assist you because you do traveling and you do traveling for shows, whatever. Anyway, so it sounded as if it was a good idea to work out. Your lawsuit has several parts. There came a parting of the ways of the two of you that was unpleasant, and that had to do with the fact that Miss Phillips was boarding dogs for someone else for a fee, Dobermans, I believe, and she went off to do a show with one of her dogs, asked you, and you agreed to mind those dogs. I assume you were getting paid for taking care of those dogs. And those dogs got into a scuffle with some of your dogs. Some of your dogs were injured. You tried to intervene. You were bitten by one of the dogs. Miss Phillips didn't come home fast enough for you. She said, I will come home when I finish the show. She came home. There was another bit of a kerfuffle where you alleged she assaulted you by pushing you. You weren't injured, but it's part of your counterclaim, so that's nonsense. And she left. You claim that she owes you for several things. You claim that she owes you for an RV hookup, which I assume means whatever she did with her RV, almost like rent. Miss Phillips says there was never an agreement for rent. You never discussed rent with her when she moved her RV onto your property. Number two, you say she owes you her share of a trip to the National Dog Show, which you covered expenses for, and you also want the money that she received for boarding the Dobermans because you were the one who watched them and not her. Yeah. She has a counterclaim. She says you owe her money for dog show fees. She says you assaulted her, which is nonsense, and I don't understand what photography services you're talking about. I think it's all a lot of nonsense, but I will get to it and dispose of it quickly. Tell me about the arrangements for hookup fees and rent when she moved in, and tell me the date she moved her RV onto your property.
She moved on April 12th of this year.
On what date did she move out?
She moved out on the 17th of May.
And so 1 month she stayed?
Yes.
And what was she supposed to pay you for putting her RV on your property?
Well, the RV, I'm going to let that month go, but when she left under the circumstances, I let her know that I was going to start charging her the going rate of $40 a day for storage.
You mean when she left?
And then she didn't...
Let's just say, just because you told her that you were going to start to charge her doesn't mean that you had a contract. Did she say, okay? Did she say, I agree to that?
No.
We didn't speak after the dog attack and she
Well,
left.
then that's not a contract. If she left her stuff there, you could have disposed of it. What did you do with her stuff?
Well, she told me I was extorting her and
No.
brought the cops, and I allowed her dad to
Just a
pick
second, did they pick up the stuff? Fine. Well, you didn't have a contract with her. You can't have a contract made by one side. A contract has to be the meeting of the minds with two people. So let's get over that nonsense. Now, how much money were you supposed to give her for your share of going to the National Dog Show?
Originally, our agreement was that she was going to use her companion ticket with Alaska, and that was going to be $100. And in return for that, I was showing her dog for her at the AKC National Dog Show.
Okay, so she was going to use her companion ticket, plus you were going to give her $100.
No, the companion ticket was going to be a fee of $100 through Alaska at her purchase price for the ticket.
Did you work for the airlines?
No, I did not. Here's the bills with her name on it for her ticket and the
May I see
upgrade
it?
to have the dogs in bulkhead, and me paying for her dog show fee and half the hotel.
I'm listening. I'm adding and listening.
And that's when she marched up to me and she grabbed my arm that was holding the keys with one hand and my shirt with the other, and she shook me and she was like, "Give me my keys," and cursed at me.
So you reached into the car and you got out her car key.
I did.
Mary Ann Sullivan claims her former business partner, Kayla Phillips, owes for the cost of dog shows and boarding fees. Kayla is countersuing for dog showing fees and an assault.
I'm listening. I'm adding and listening.
Originally, the agreement was that I would show her dog for her while we went. And then after the fact that we agreed on the dates, she then informed me that the ticket was $650 instead of our agreed upon $100.
Well, if she didn't get it, she didn't get it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you make any payments to her?
No.
With regard.
She didn't inform me that she had actually paid the $650 for the ticket, and she did that without consulting me first, because I made it clear that I wasn't wanting to spend those expenses to go to the dog show in the first place.
What else? Boarding fees. What kind of boarding fees are you talking about?
She charged $2,000 a dog to board and train, which was $66 a day for her. I charged $35 a day to take care of a dog and kennel him. So 10 days that I took care of, I'm only charging her for the Dobermans because I took care of her 4 dogs and 7 goats.
Well,
for
just
free.
a second. Did you have an agreement with regard to that? Is my question.
Yes, she said
just
that
a
we
second.
would.
Let's go back. Tell me what agreement you had, when it was made, where it was made, what the discussion was.
We both agreed.
No,
that
not we both agreed. That's a conclusion.
We discussed that
When? When?
the month before she moved in.
The
That
month before she moved in,
if I took
you
care
said
of the
to her,
dogs, I would get a board fee of the days that I was alone with the dogs when she was traveling, and then she would get the rest while she was there.
did you have that discussion with her?
No. We didn't actually discuss anything because when I approached her about discussing what our plan was, it got shuffled off like, oh, we'll talk about it next week. So we never officially discussed anything.
Well, how could you talk about boarding the month before she moved in?
She had planned to bring the Dobermans with her.
Were you permanently taking care of the Dobermans?
No.
When did you start to take care of the Dobermans?
The 13th of April.
So the Dobermans came in with you the day after you moved on to the property.
Yeah, they arrived with their owner, but it wasn't just me. Like, this was a joint thing that we were trying to start, but she wasn't very communicative about our agreement. She just didn't want to talk about it till later. And so I was a little confused as how it was working, and I was taking care of the dogs and doing all the training and stuff, except when I left for the dog show.
And you left for the dog show on what date?
I left on the 14th of May.
All right, so let me try to understand this, Miss Phillips. I want you to explain to me what you brought to the table. So far, she's giving you the property on which to put your RV so that you can live. She's providing the property and the kennels for your own dogs and for dogs that you're going to be boarding. She's providing the expenses to travel to the dog show.
So
Airfare, hotel, fees for registering the dog. You must have gotten paid from the Doberman owners.
I did.
You did. And how much did you get paid?
$2,000
A day? A month?
per month.
Was that for both dogs?
Per dog.
Per dog. So you got $4,000 for the month.
But I was also in charge of their expenses while they're there, their food.
So you got $4,000.
Plus she had a
and
German Shepherd.
Their titling.
How much of the $4,000 did you share with the plaintiff?
None.
Take a breath. How much?
None.
None. Okay. So now I'm still confused. When you left on May 14th, you left her in charge of the dogs for just those 4 days. And the dog that you went to show was your dog or her dog?
I brought 5 dogs with me. I delivered one of her puppies to their puppy owner on my way down there.
Whose dogs were they?
They are all either owned or co-owned by me.
Owned by you and co-owned with the plaintiff or someone else?
Mm-hmm.
What's
with someone else. I did bring
so that
our
you
co-owned
brought
dog. One of them was our co-owned dog.
Okay, is that
But she
correct?
was only there to get her eyes tested, not to be shown.
But she brought
Yes.
her.
Yes, she
And
did.
she was in charge of her.
Yes.
Okay. And was that a trip that you went to by car or by air?
By car.
How far was it?
It's a 6-hour drive.
Okay, so far you owe her $650. And how much do you think she owes you for kenneling the dogs?
I figured that she made $4,000 for both the dogs. I took care of both dogs for 10 days. and
Now,
she-
did you make a contract with her?
Okay, but I
don't care what you figured.
Okay,
Do you
but
understand?
She was going to pay me board if I took care of her paid dogs.
Is that correct?
No, because we never discussed it.
No, I don't believe that that's true. She owes you $650. Now let's get to your counterclaim.
Well, I also, when I was at the property,
Just a second. You have a counterclaim. Dog show fees. What is that about?
so when I show her dogs for her,
Not when. Give me a date. A date you showed her dog for her and she didn't pay you a fee.
I showed the dogs January 16th through the 19th.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
Keep going. Anytime. After April. When
After
you all
April.
decided to move in. Yes, together. Let's go.
None.
No.
I
Nothing.
did not show her
Okay,
dogs.
good. What are photography fees?
So I took professional photos of her 4-week-old puppies for her to use for her advertisements.
And what was your agreement?
There was no verbal agreement.
Perfect. So you had no contract. Now you're
Yes,
going to
but
describe.
it's
Now you're going to
under-
describe the assault.
So when I returned back from the dog show, it was late. It was almost midnight.
10 o'clock, I was up.
So I got there. I got all the dogs settled in, and I went to bed. I got up in the morning, got up around 6:30. I took care of all of the animals, all my dogs and the goats that were on the property. And I then was putting all the dog show stuff away. And she came out, and I waved, and I was carrying a crate, finished putting that away. By the time I came back out of the shed, putting things away, was walking back into the house. I went in to my RV. She texted me, like, I'm really sad you're avoiding me, and to come out, and she needed the money from the puppy.
Did you give her the money for the puppy?
I gave her the money.
How much was the puppy?
The puppy was a total of $3,500, but I think that there was only $3,000 in cash because the deposit had already been paid of $500. And so I gave her that, and when I came out to give that to her, she was in her truck, and I go up and I said, I was hoping that we could talk this afternoon about everything that happened when I was gone.
Everything you mean the fight where she was bitten?
Yeah, the fight that she separated incorrectly. And talk about that, and she cut me off, and she was like, Kayla, I'm the most important thing in your life, and I feel very unimportant because you did not come in this morning to take care of me or my animals.
Okay. What do you mean she tried to push you? Either she pushed you or not.
She did push me, and I just sat down so I didn't fall off the steps, trying to get into the RV to get the dog out that she thought she was.
But she didn't.
She did not, no, because I sat down, and then she couldn't move me after that.
Mary Ann Sullivan has accused her former business partner, Kayla Phillips, of moving off her property without paying her share of dog show costs and boarding fees.
Keep going.
And at that point, it kind of just escalated to the point where she was kind of just talking about everything that she didn't like about how I was there and when I was there and everything like that. And I said, Marianne, I'm really sorry that I made you feel unimportant. That wasn't my intention. And that, you know, I understand that it's not working and it's okay. And I'm happy to go home. And then she decided that she wanted our co-owned Beauceron dog Scout back. And I told her that that wasn't our agreement because 2 weeks before I moved, she called me and verbally returned the dog saying that she couldn't handle the dog anymore. And so that's when it just started to escalate because I refused to return give the dog to her. And then she decided to take one of my dogs instead. So she went in and got my dog and was dragging my dog to the car. And I got nervous and scared. And so I had her truck keys in my hands and I was holding it. And I was like...
So you reached into the car and you got out her car keys.
I did. And I was holding them and I was like, please let my dog go. Like, this situation is making me entirely uncomfortable and I think we just need to take a deep breath and talk about it when you get back. I'll be here. And that's when she marched up to me and she grabbed my arm that was holding the keys with one hand and my shirt with the other, and she shook me and she was like, give me my keys, and cursed at me. And I just kind of held them as far as I could away from my body. She let go of my arm to grab the key and I slipped the leash off the dog. The dog immediately came behind me and I went to my RV and got on the steps and just stood in front of them and I repeated that I was uncomfortable with the situation, that I was getting scared and that I think that we just need to take a breather. And that's when she tried to push me out of the way off the steps of the RV.
What do you mean she tried to push you? Either she pushed you or not?
She did push me and I just sat down so I didn't fall off the steps.
Okay.
And trying to get into the RV to get the dog out that she thought she was.
But she didn't?
She did not, no, because I sat down and then she couldn't move me after that.
Okay. And then she left in her truck?
After yelling at me for several minutes.
Okay, but she left in her truck?
She did.
Okay, and then you left?
Well, I called several people. I called my mom and one of my good friends because I've a very sheltered life. I've never been treated like that by another person ever.
Okay. But you left that day?
I did leave that day.
And did you leave the RV?
I did.
So you left the RV on the property?
Yes.
And what about the dogs?
I took all the dogs and I took my goats.
And where did you take them?
I took them to my mom's house in Washington.
Okay. When did you come back for the RV?
I messaged her that evening saying that I was really sad about the situation and that I was thinking of her. Then the next day, I texted her saying that my dad would be, because my dad has the truck that can pull the RV because it's a fifth wheel. And I told her, I said, my dad would be back this week from Arizona and that I could come on Saturday to come receive it. And she responded was, all contact will be through my lawyer moving forward. And then I never heard from her again.
When did you go and get the RV?
So she sent me a certified letter saying that it was abandoned.
Can I see the letter?
Yeah.
Can I see? You must have the letter. Where's the letter? It's a copy of the letter.
Well, the letter was sent to not my house. So it was sent to my grandparents' house in Boring, Oregon.
That's the address you used?
Okay. That I will be 6:30 days at best with it. Okay, so on June 21st, you wrote to her that it's been 30 days without arrangements of money owed and removal. Per Oregon statute, I have to inform you of the removal. If you wish to get the items, please bring cash. On Saturday, that will be $5,822. Well, you already now understand that you can't have a one-sided contract.
Yes.
Okay. Did she finally remove the RV?
Her father removed most of her contacts that day and was to come back Monday or Tuesday, and he did not come back to get the rest of her stuff.
So what did you do with the rest of her stuff?
I put it out on the road, and
Fine.
people picked it up.
Okay. But he removed the RV.
Yes.
Very unfortunate.
I actually have a sworn statement from my dad
I don't read sworn statements.
because he did talk
Just a
to-
second.
Okay.
I don't read sworn statements, and you can't tell me what he said, because that's hearsay. And you don't have a case on a counterclaim. You do owe her $650 for the
I
cost of
don't.
going to the dog show. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
However-
Thank you very much.
Court adjourned. Right this way, ma'am.
I think that Marianne, when I moved to the property, assumed that I was going to be taking care of everything on the property and not just maintaining the business that we were trying to start together.
Actually, I did a lot more work. She worked with the dogs, and not every day, which she was charging for.
Extremely upset that I didn't conform to how she felt like I should handle the situation, and unfortunately, that just wasn't possible.
And I had him 10 of the 30 days, so there wasn't a lot of training going on. And, I learned that I don't want to take care of another person.
Well, now we'll see her when I see her.
Well, I won't do that again, and I am very sorry that I was such a poor judge of character.
That case showed that one important thing I learned in law school is that you can't make a contract with yourself. You can't decide on terms and make an agreement and sign it one-sided.
Yeah, that's true. And that's true even if the terms are reasonable. And plaintiff had perfectly reasonable terms, but they were agreed to only with herself. So you need to,
Mutual assent.
yes, mutual consent to make a contract. And there has to be an offer, acceptance, and consideration. That's what we learned. So that didn't quite cut it anyway. It was a business relationship that didn't work out. It only was for a month, so nobody lost anything. And they were both very nice people. Yeah. All turned out okay.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Assaulted you in a beauty salon.
She just ran towards me, banged my face. She wouldn't get off of me. She was hitting on me all over my body. And then he locked me inside.
He locked you into the salon.
Yes.
This is Judy Justice. Michelle Pack is suing her hairstylist, Yoon Lim, and the owner of the salon, Soon Lee, for an assault.
Court come to order.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1141, Pack versus Lim and Lee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Pack, it is your claim the defendant, Miss Lim, assaulted you
Yes.
in a beauty salon.
Yes.
You are the owner of the store?
본인께서 주인 되십니까?
Yes.
Yes.
And you, sir, what is your last name?
My last name is Kim, K-I-M.
Mr. Kim, you are an interpreter.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Then stand in the middle of them, would you? Thank you. Now, how long has Miss Lim been working for you, sir?
미스 림이 본인의 가게에서 일한 지가 얼마 정도 기간이 됐어요?
1년 한 10개월 정도 됐어요.
For approximately 1 year and 10 months.
Miss Pack, you had been a client of Miss Lim's before.
Yes.
For how long?
3 months or so.
What kind of work does she do for you?
A hairstylist.
It is your claim that Miss Lim assaulted you,
Yes.
caused you serious physical injury. Miss Lim says that it was you who assaulted her, and she's counterclaiming. Each one of you is requesting that this court award $10,000 for that assault. When did this alleged assault take place?
On July 30th, Friday evening.
Of this year?
Yes.
You had an appointment with Miss Lim?
Yes, Your Honor.
What time?
4:45.
You arrived at the location of this salon. You had been there at least
Several times.
several times. Arrived at 4:45. You had never had any trouble with Miss Lim before.
Correct.
Now I'd like you to tell me exactly what happened when you arrived.
Well, when I'd arrived, it was actually about 4:50 to be
So you arrived a little late.
Yes, I was 5 minutes late. However, look at the salon. It's clear, so you could actually look inside the salon. And she was actually working on a client already at the time. So, I'm very flexible just because of...
Don't tell me how flexible you are. I don't want to go into any tributaries. You got there 5 minutes late.
Yes.
You didn't go in.
I didn't go in.
You went downstairs.
Yes.
That's what you say. What did you do downstairs?
To get cough drops from the...
So you went to a store and you got some cough drops or whatever else you bought there.
Cough drops.
And you had to pay for them?
Yes.
How much time did that take?
1 to 2 minutes.
No. Never 1 to 2 minutes.
They close at 4:55.
No place closes 4:55, Miss Pack. 4:55 is a peculiar time. I'm
They close...
old. Older by the minute. I never knew a store that closed at 4:55. They close 5 o'clock. That's a possibility. So you got to your appointment late. You didn't check in with the defendant. You went downstairs. You got some cough drops. What time did you get upstairs?
4:53.
And how did you know it was 4:53?
Because the pharmacy, they told me they have to close.
Don't tell me what the pharmacy told you.
But it is the fact.
I want to tell you something. So far, I'm not following your story like I believe it. I'm getting a twitch. So you came late to your appointment. That's the bottom line. You came late to your appointment.
Yes.
And when you went upstairs, was the defendant waiting for you?
No.
What was she doing?
She was still working on the client.
Okay. Miss Lim, when Miss Pak came in, were you working on another client?
자기 도착했을 때 본인께서 다른 손님의 머리를 하고 있었습니까?
No,
No.
What were you doing?
뭘 하고 계셨어요?
I was eating at the table.
Not true.
Approximately what time did Miss Pak come in for her 4:45 appointment?
4시 45분 예약 시간에 몇 시에 이분이 들어왔어요?
I remember that she came after 5.
Okay. And you were eating.
본인은 이제 뭐 식사하고 있었고요.
Yes.
So you came into the shop around 5 o'clock.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, you came into the shop around 5 o'clock. Whether it was 4:53, 4:54, 5 to 5, 5 o'clock, she said 5 after 5. I'm telling you, you got it. For my purposes, you got there at 5 o'clock. Go ahead.
I was there at 4:53 with my mom in heaven, watching down on me.
Just tell me what happened.
I walked in there. She was still working on the client, but I patiently waited because, you know,
Now, don't tell me why. You patiently waited, and
she was still working on a client.
and
And then after she was done with the client, she demanded me, she ordered that I wait at the salon 30 minutes while she go picks up her
oh,
son.
tell me what she said to you.
She said, I have to go pick up my son, so you have to stay here 30 minutes, is the way that she spoke to me.
Okay, and what happened next?
I said, but my appointment was at 4:45. And she said, well, I thought you'd flake.
Okay,
Those were
and
her words.
okay, I thought you flaked, and then what happened?
And then I was like, I never flaked on you. And she was like, yes, you did. So it was her word against my
Okay,
word.
so just a second. I never flaked on you. Yes, you did. Back and forth. I flaked. I didn't flake. And then what happened?
Then she went to the table and started eating cup ramen noodles when she told me I had to wait for her to go pick up her son.
So now,
Daniel.
just a second. So now she went over to the table
Yes.
and
Started
sat down
eating.
and started eating noodles.
Yes.
So did you walk over to the table?
No.
So you stayed where?
Right in the middle of the salon,
Okay, so you're in the middle of the salon, but she left and went to sit at the table to eat her noodles.
which was like approximately from like here to like at the end of this.
Okay,
stand
that's
right there.
10, 15 feet. Okay, so she's 10 or 15 feet away from you. What happens next?
What
And
happened
let's
next?
get to this.
I was pulling on the apron to get myself up because she wouldn't get off of me. She was hitting on me. She was sitting on me, like beating me up like this, from my face all the way to my ribs, everywhere, all over my body. And I have pictures to prove it. And I'm still in pain.
And then what happened?
Michelle Pak claims her hairstylist, Yoon Lim, assaulted her in the salon. Yoon is countersuing, claiming Michelle attacked her first.
What happens next?
What
And
happened
let's
next?
get to this.
The salon owner, Mr. Lee, he said, oh, she's been so hungry because she was busy all day long.
So he said to you.
Yes.
And how far away from you was Mr. Lee?
He was right behind her.
Was he sitting or
No,
standing?
Standing.
And what happened next?
And then I said, how could you do this to me? I said, you know, I set up an appointment at 4:45, and I was patient enough. The fact that you actually even were working on another client, and, you know, I didn't even complain. And first of all, you want me to, like, wait for you for 30 minutes, and then now you're eating? This is so inappropriate.
I was
speechless.
And you were standing 10 to 15 feet away from where she was sitting, eating her noodles. What happened next?
She just ran towards me, banged my face, and she got on top of me, and she was just,
Okay, so she got up from the table.
yes,
She came over to you and started to assault you.
yes.
No.
So I was lying on my back.
Shh, just a second.
She
And you fell on your back.
Yeah, she punched me down and
No,
she
no.
was beating me up.
She was punching you.
She was sitting on me, like beating me up.
Okay. And
And I was trying to get myself up because I was on the floor, and like she had, you know, the salon aprons. Like I was trying to like hold on to it to get myself up because
so you were pulling on her apron
to get
yourself up.
yeah, because she wouldn't
So
get off.
she was on top of you. You're pulling on her apron to pull yourself up. But if you're on the ground and if you're pulling her apron, you're pulling her towards you.
No, like I'm trying to get myself up because she's so heavy. She wouldn't get off of me. I don't know. I don't fight.
Keep going.
You know, I mean.
Keep going.
So I was pulling on the apron to get myself up because she wouldn't get off of me. She was hitting on me. And, you know, I was lying down like this while she was like with my legs bent like this. She was sitting on me, like beating me up like this from my face all the way to my ribs, everywhere, all over my body. And I have pictures to prove it. And I'm still in pain.
And then what happened?
And then I was able to finally get up, you know, to call the police. Because that's what I'm going to do. If someone's going to assault me, I'm calling the police. As soon as I tried to call the police, they said 911. I said, yes. And I told them what happened. And they said, where's the location? And they said, what's the suite number? And I said, it's the second floor. And I don't know the suite number. And they said, we need the suite number. We need the suite number. So I said, okay. And I was like running. And then I ran like it literally like from here to here. I ran and I was trying to pull, and then he actually ran out to the door so that I couldn't give him the suite number. And I was like trying to like look like this, and then he actually like pulled the door so I couldn't see the suite number. He pulled it towards it from the outside. He locked me inside. He locked me inside
Just a second.
of the salon.
So what you're telling me is he ran past you.
Yes.
He ran past you.
He ran, but before he did that, he told her, you call 911 too.
That's okay. He got out before you and locked you into the salon.
After he ordered her to call 911.
And he told her to call 911.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And the police came.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'd like your version of what happened.
본인께서 이제 본인의 상황을 설명해 주세요. 영어로.
She came in, according to you, 5:05. You were reading noodles.
본인은 라면을 먹고 있었어요. 그다음에 이제 어떻게 됐어요?
미셸한테 얘기했습니다. 당신 늦게 왔습니다.
I said to Michelle, you came late.
그래서 나는 5시 반 전에는 아기를 픽업해야 되니까 잠깐만 기다려주세요. 라고
And
얘기했습니다.
I asked her to briefly wait because I have to go and pick up my child before 5:30.
Okay.
그리고 저희 아이가 있는 프리스쿨은 왔다 갔다 8분 거리에 있습니다.
Where my child is at, the preschool, to and from, it takes altogether like 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay, so you said you have to wait. Go ahead. What happened next?
기다려야 된다고 이제 말씀하셨거든요.
나는
이제 어떻게 됐어요?
서비스를 받기 싫으면 너무 늦게 왔고 시간이 안 맞으니까 서비스를 받기 싫으면 가도 된다고 했더니
I said, since you arrived late and because it's going to be late, so if that's too late for you, then you don't have to receive my service today.
And what happened next?
그다음에 어떻게 됐어요?
그리고 저는 저를 방어하기 위해 밀었습니다.
So in order for me to defend myself, I then pushed her back.
And?
미셸 팍은 높은 신발을 신어서 뒤로 넘어졌고
Michelle Park was wearing high heels, so she fell backward.
미셸 팍은 높은
Don't speak!
말하지 마세요.
이렇게 일어나서
And
뭐 하는 건지 지금 What's she doing?
And I was like swaggering like this, and then I got up and I said,
Just a second. Did she fall down and you fell with her?
이 여자분이 넘어지고 본인도 같이 넘어졌어요? 본인도 같이 넘어졌습니까?
Let the record reflect that the witness is suggesting that she fell over on top of her when she pushed her when the plaintiff was holding on to her robe.
옆으로 넘어졌습니다.
I fell to my side.
You fell to his side.
네.
네, 옆으로 넘어졌어요.
And then what happened?
네, 이미 그거는 제가
Then what
받았습니다.
happened?
그다음에 어떻게 됐어요?
그리고 미셸 팍이 소리 지르고
And then Michelle Park started to yell.
Oh my God, she hit me! Like
Oh my God, she hit me.
And then?
screaming.
And screaming.
And then what happened?
그다음에 어떻게 됐어요?
And then she called to 911.
And then she called 911.
Okay, at any time did you hit her?
자, 어느 때를 막론하고 본인께서 이분을 때린 적 있어요?
아니요.
No.
Did she hit you?
자, 이 여자분이 본인을 와서 그때 때렸어요?
아니요.
No.
No. So you had no marks
그러니까
on you from her.
이 여자로부터 본인께서 몸에 어떤 자국 본인께서 생긴 것은 없다 이거죠?
Yes or no?
저
You had no marks.
I have no marks.
저 딸기를 때렸어요.
But then I was slapped after.
tell me when you were slapped.
자, 언제 따귀를 맞았는지를 말씀해 주세요.
제가 둘이 넘어지고 나서 일어섰고 저 여자는 911 전화했고 저는 문 앞에 있었을 때 와서 제 따귀를 때렸어요.
We both fell down, she backward, me forward to my side. And then once I got up, she was already calling 911. And when I approached the front door area, that's the time when she slapped my face.
Okay. At no point do you tell any officer that you were repeatedly punched in the face, punched in the body. What you told them is that you had a little cut on one of your fingers.
Michelle Pack is accusing her hairstylist, Yoon Lim, of assaulting her in the salon. Yoon says she was the one who was assaulted.
Now, who's going to show me a police report?
자, 폴리스 리포트 가지고 있어요? 들어올리세요.
Okay. The officers observed a small cut on Miss Pack's right middle finger, and they said they took a photograph of that. Right here. This was the photograph that the officer took of your injury. This is what the officer said. He said he observed a small cut right here. That's what he observed. Now, both parties, when the officers responded, did not request any treatment, any transport to any hospital. You both told stories. The story, what?
I did.
Did you go to the hospital?
No, but I asked.
Just a second. Did you go to the hospital is my question.
I went to my doctor.
Okay. I would like to see your doctor's record of your visit. But I want you to notice, Miss Pack, that at no time during this police interview did you report any injury other than the cut to your finger. At no point do you tell any officer who responded to the scene that you were repeatedly, as you told me, punched in the face, punched in the body. At no point when the police arrived do you tell them that. What you told them is, and the police said, we took a photograph of it, that you had a little cut on one of your fingers. I'm just telling you that that's what it says.
Because I was wearing yoga pants and I still have mark on my knee.
Excuse me, it also has a photograph of what looks like you.
Yes.
And the police took this?
Yes.
As soon as they arrived?
Yes.
And what is that a picture of? Is that an arm or a leg? I can't tell what that's a picture of.
Excuse me.
Show it to her. And give me those. I'm going to look at them now. Okay.
That's my knee that I'm still having problems with.
This happened on July 30th. This says reason for the appointment on August 2nd. Patient was assaulted on Saturday and having other problems. And there's a follow-up on August 24th for another appointment. Look, always get down to it. This is on August 24th. What's the name of the lawyer that you contacted?
Robert.
And on what date did you contact Robert?
On July 30th.
How do you know him?
I've known him for 15 years.
So you called a friend of yours who's a lawyer, and he told you to get in touch with a doctor.
Well, I made my own
you called
decision
him.
to
You called
contact
him.
the doctor.
Okay. No, patient has already been in conversation with a lawyer. Damage seems more psychological and mental trauma than physical. And it goes into a lot of other things that I don't think I have to go into now at this point. And they deal with psychological things rather than physical things that your doctor is referring to. Okay. Do you have any other medical reports that you want me to look at?
The X-ray, because
just a second. You went for an X-ray on September 21st. X-ray, the right knee.
Yes, and then I spoke with my doctor.
Don't tell me what you spoke to your doctor about. You had an X-ray months later that showed nothing.
I called to make the appointment for the X-ray.
All right, we're done here.
When I was trying.
I'm done. Did you seek any medical treatment as a result of being slapped?
여기에 따고 맞아가지고 병원 가서 의료 치료 받으신 거 있어요?
아니요.
No.
And other than these notes that you gave me from your doctor who was treating you for a variety of problems, do you have any other medical records for me to look at?
Yes.
What other medical records do you have me to look at?
I have photos which are
Nope,
at the
not interested. Medical records. I saw the police report. I saw the doctor's notes. Now I want to see medical records. If you have none, I'm ready to rule.
just the recent conversation with my doctor 2 days ago.
Very good.
For MRI.
Your claim is dismissed. Your counterclaim is dismissed. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
So traumatic. I've never even seen this. I mean,
전 더 이상 저 여자가 저한테 협박 안 하고 폭력적인 행사를 안 했으면 좋겠고요.
I wish that the lady no longer have those kind of behaviors and aggressive actions against anyone.
I grew up in Georgia. The people with manners.
저는 저 여자 때문에 체포를 당하고
Because of her, I was once arrested at the scene.
Never in my life had a hairstylist attack me.
전 너무 억울했어요.
So I was being wrongfully accused of this.
Aside the fact that they tag teamed on me, what I'm upset about is the fact that they lied to the police.
서로 리포트하기로 해서 풀어졌고요.
The police officer said that we can, on our own, individually file a report against each other.
Never ever go again, and I want to tell everyone never to go to here.
너무 감사합니다.
I'd like to thank this court for this.
You remember criminal law. An assault is when you have physical injury. And it can't be just a little cut. You don't know where that came from. Certainly from what the plaintiff was describing, she would have been battered and bruised. She was hit on the face.
Black eye.
Because on the law, in order to establish an assault is an unlawful touching that causes physical
Serious bodily
injury. And neither one of them sustained it. The plaintiff, I think, was late, probably by 15 or 20 minutes. Actually, the answer said that that was her usual course of conduct. She came late, and the owner of this shop said she's just eating because she was so busy all day today. That's why she was sitting down and eating noodles. The whole thing was very unfortunate. It's not worth a case, which is why her lawyer friend of 15 years didn't pursue it. So on the law, unless there is some physical injury, that's a real physical injury, you don't have an assault. You had a nasty kerfuffle. And she'll have to find another hairdresser, which is probably the worst thing that's going to come out of this case.
Well.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Together.
Yes, ma'am.
Every once in a while, you fight with her, and she kicks you out. And then she lets you back in, right?
Right.
And you have a fight, and she kicks you out. Making the same mistake over and over and over again. You can't get along. Don't live together. You have a child who's growing up with two crazies.
This is Judy Justice. Dale Eber is suing his former girlfriend and the mother of their daughter, Ginger Gibbons, for wrongful eviction and the value of his property.
Court come to order.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1160, Eber versus Gibbons.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, Mr. Eber.
Yes, ma'am.
I know there's a saying about somebody who doesn't learn from experience. They keep making the same mistake over and over and over again. And I read your complaint. You and the defendant had a long-standing relationship only through the fact that you made a child together. That child is now how old?
6.
Every once in a while, you sort of float in, and then you fight with her, and she kicks you out. And you stay out for a few months, and then she lets you back in, right?
Right.
And you're together for a little bit, and you have a fight, and she kicks you out. And then you're out, and you live in your truck, you stay with friends, whatever it is. And then you come back. According to your complaint, probably happened more often, but it happened recently in the last couple of years 3 times.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the first thing that you are alleging is that she has committed on 3 separate occasions, recently, probably happened many times in the past, wrongful eviction.
Right.
Couple of questions before I actually put the 4th line through this wrongful eviction claim. In any of the recent times that she gave you the boot, were you on the lease?
No.
How could she evict you if you weren't on the lease?
Well, I moved in there with her when she moved in. Lived with her from day one.
From day one, what is day one? Give me day one.
February of 2020.
Well, February of 2020, your daughter was 5, and you were not on the lease.
No.
And how long did you live there before she threw you out?
3 or 4 months.
Okay, then you had a fight.
Yeah.
And she called the police, tossed you out.
I called the police.
Well, you called the police. She said he's not on the lease. They tossed you out.
Right.
How did you get back?
I was living in my car. I had nowhere to go. So, I mean,
Okay,
it was
so you
after
were living in your car. You had nowhere to go, and?
Well, we had both lost everything in the campfire, so we were, we both moved in there together. When she started collecting welfare, I was still living there and helping, you know.
This is much too much information for me, sir. When you moved back in with her, that was after she had thrown you out once.
Right.
Did you say, I'll move back in with you, but I want to be on the lease?
No.
No. So that you knew from the first time that if the police were called, she's going to say, he's not on the lease, and he doesn't live here. So you moved back in with her, with your daughter, because your daughter remained with her.
Right.
In what month?
I can't really recall the dates.
Well, I certainly don't remember. She doesn't have to help you. And then she threw you out again. Were the police called?
Yes, I've called the cops every time that we've had a problem with her drug use.
Okay, you called the police. Mm-hmm. I assume that that's a yes.
Yes.
And when the police came, they told you to leave, and you left.
Yep.
Yep is a yes.
Yes, sorry.
And then you went and stayed in your car again.
Right.
For how long?
A couple months.
How'd you get back in?
The 3rd time I didn't. It was the last time. I bought an RV.
Well, so far I know 2 times, so it's only 2 times that she threw you out.
There's more than it was more than twice.
Let's move on to something else where you might be more successful. Return of rent. What rent do you want?
I have evidence right here of monies that I've given her.
I don't care what money you gave her. When you paid rent the months that you were living there.
Yeah, well, I paid in advance for months. I paid $17.50 at one time.
Just a second. In what year?
This one was December 31st of 2020, right when she moved in there to help her move in.
Good. You mean with your daughter?
Right.
Do you regularly pay child support, Mr. Eber?
Yeah, this is part of the child support, but she was collecting welfare fraudulently and not reporting the money I was giving her.
Well, that's terrible. When did you find that out?
When they started garnishing or taking money out of my bank account.
You mean you didn't know that she was collecting welfare before that?
No.
How did you think she was supporting herself?
I gave her half my wildfire money, and there was $4,800, and I gave her $3,000.
You gave her half of your welfare money?
Yeah, I gave her most of it.
Just a second.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Just a second. I need an eraser. Go like this. I need to erase my brain. She gets welfare for herself and your daughter.
Right.
And you get welfare for you.
No.
Well, what do you mean you give her half your welfare money?
I'm a painting contractor, and then...
So, I don't understand. Did he say I gave her half my welfare? I'm sorry, you know, some...
No, half of my wildfire money from losing...
Wildfire!
Wildfire money.
Was that what he said?
I heard welfare.
I heard
said
welfare.
wildfire.
You have to be careful.
Sorry.
She's the stenographer.
Okay.
She, thank God, you heard what I heard. Half of your wildfire money.
And that
Just
was
a
like
second,
over.
just a second. Wildfire money. That's a new one. Look it up. Wildfire money. This wildfire money, this wildfire was the wildfire, the Paradise Fires.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were living together during the Paradise Fire?
Yes.
In what kind of establishment?
In her parents' house.
So you were living with Miss Gibbons in her parents' house with your daughter?
Right.
And the wildfires destroyed your parents' house? No.
No, it had damages, but they had to fix those, and then they put it on the market shortly after and sold it.
There was a fire. I don't know if I could look into the insurance proceeds of what was paid.
Then for curiosity, Mr. Eber, who did you get money from?
The Northern, I forget the name of it, but we got, I think it was $10,000. Everybody that was evacuated or that was in the fire.
So you got $10,000?
Right, and so did
for being dispossessed from her parents' home?
Yes. No, yeah. Mm-hmm. I lost my business in the fire.
No, those are separate things. If you lost your business in the fire, that's another thing. Where was your business located?
Paradise, California.
Okay, and that's separate from where her parents were?
Right.
Okay. And what was the name of the business?
Dale's Painting.
Dale's Painting. Where are you located now?
The business is located 62. I haven't changed the address to the new address.
Let's move on, Mr. Eber, to something else, please. Your personal nonsense has nothing to do with courts. And if you want to have a discussion with somebody about your personal business, go to a counselor, go to Dr. Phil. It's nonsense. Courts don't care about it.
And later today.
Who is going to speak for the two of you?
I will.
She gave you a look.
Okay. Better ask again.
Who's going to speak for you?
I am.
Good.
Make sure you didn't give me that look.
Yeah.
Dale Eber claims his former girlfriend and the mother of their daughter, Ginger Gibbons, owes for evicting him multiple times and damaging his property. Ginger is countersuing for an assault.
Okay, let's move on to replacement value of damaged property. Because as you see, I'm singularly unimpressed with the other parts of your complaint. Replacement value of damaged property. What property and how did she damage it?
She put all my stuff out on her patio.
What stuff?
My clothes, my DVDs, my computer.
On what date did she put your stuff out?
I don't know the dates, because she's the one that put them out. She knows that.
Well, on what date were you missing your clothes? Was that the same day you were missing your computer?
No, actually, I had left my computer there. Well, you know, she had put my computer out with my clothes. It was all soaking wet. Yeah, that was the same day I was, I was missing the computer.
You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for assault, primarily, for assault. So I have a couple of questions, because clearly people have nothing better to do than to come here. I, on the other hand, have better things to do. I read your answer and I read your counterclaim. You say in January 2021, he grabbed your purse, claimed that you had drugs, and grabbed me by the hands, and you ended up spraining your pinky. Then I'm jumping forward to May of 2021, when you say I filed a restraining order against him because he crossed the line. That's what you wrote in your answer, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you a simple question. My question to you is between January 21st, 2021, and on or about May, did Mr. Eber live with you?
No.
When did he leave?
It was at the time, right around the time of the assault.
Well, what happened between January and May?
I did file a restraining order on that incident, and he convinced me to not go through with it. And
just a second. How did he convince you?
He threatened me mostly.
No. Well, tell me.
That he.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
I want you to tell me. Where was he when he convinced you? Was he on the phone? Was he on texts? Was he on email? Was he in person? Where was he when he convinced you not to go forward?
In multiple areas.
Well, multiple areas.
So I have text messages, you have emails, and phone conversations.
What about in person? What about him?
Face-to-face, no.
Between January 2021 and now, has he been in your home?
No.
Have you been in his home?
No.
So where have you met?
Either outside of the apartment, Actually, I haven't been able to get him to cooperate with any kind of scheduling or anything like that. He pretty much comes and goes as he pleases.
Comes and goes where?
Well, I mean, to the house or whatever to see the baby. Actually, he has not been allowed to come around because he, as of May.
I have to tell you about courts, both of you. We're busy, and your personal nonsense has nothing to do with courts. And if you want to have a discussion with somebody about your personal business and how you can't get along, or, you know, go to a counselor, go to Dr. Phil, go to somebody who can negotiate visitation, spend some of your wildfire money on a therapist who can help you negotiate how to raise and co-parent this little girl, because you have a little girl together.
Can I address her restraining order?
I'm throwing it out.
Okay.
It's nonsense. The whole thing is nonsense. Your case is nonsense. Her case is nonsense. Courts don't care about it. You can't get along, don't live together. But don't keep torturing each other, because in the process of torturing each other, what you're doing is you have a child who's a baby, who's growing up with two crazies. She keeps letting you come back in. She tosses you out. You come back in. You float in and out. She may act irresponsibly. If you have a legitimate claim with regard to her parenting skills,
I do.
what you do is you go to family court and you file a petition so that a judge can set a visitation schedule with your child if you want visitation. And if you have a legitimate complaint with her with regard to parenting, because you have a complaint that she is a substance abuser, go to family court and file for custody of your daughter.
I got all the papers right here.
You've got what?
All the papers and proof that she's the aggressive person.
No, listen to me. You're not listening.
Call.
You're floating around in the air. You're in the wrong place. You're in a place where you want money. And what I'm telling you is, if you have a legitimate complaint with regard to her parenting skills, go to family court, where they will not award you money. They will award you custody if you're right. Right now, all you're doing is what my grandmother would say, you're blepturing. You're complaining about her, and you're not putting your money where your mouth is. You want to put your money where your mouth is about a legitimate complaint about her being an unfit parent, and you would be a better parent for your daughter. Go to family court, where you're not seeking $10,000, where you're seeking the right thing for your child. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Court is adjourned.
I don't know. I guess she's right.
I understand completely.
Well, it's mainly her substance abuse.
I do not have a substance abuse problem.
The neglect to my daughter.
I have all the love in the world for my daughter, of course.
You know, destroying my personal property, and you know, every time she's thrown me out.
Good parents for our daughter, absolutely, that would be great.
You know, Sarah, we talk about this all the time, and it's something that I think I probably said 1,000,000 times. You have to love those children more than you hate each other, because that's your responsibility. It's as much of a responsibility for their emotional health as it is to put food on the table. It's just so sad to me that this little girl has to live through this tumultuous toddler period, which isn't going to get better.
It's unfortunate.
Case number 1148, Castillo versus Signs. All parties, please step forward.
Ralph and Raquel Castillo are suing photographer Dearsu Sains for the return of their deposit.
Mr. and Mrs. Castillo, who is going to speak for the two of you?
I will.
She gave you a look.
Okay. Better ask again.
Who's going to speak for you?
I am.
Good.
To make sure you didn't give me that look.
Mr. Castillo, this is your daughter.
Yes.
And she was going to have a celebration. I think it's for her 15th birthday.
Yes.
And that has a special name.
Correct. Quinceañera.
Quinceañera. Tell me about the genesis of that celebration. Why 15?
It's a celebration of a transition of a young girl into a young adult.
Okay. We walk in, they say, can somebody help us? We have pictures that are locked in our phone. And some young person comes over and 1, 2, 3, and voila, 50 pictures. It's like magic, it's like a genie.
Ralph and Raquel Castillo claim photographer Dirce Sains is wrongfully keeping their deposits after their daughter's quinceañera was canceled.
Okay, what's your daughter's first name?
Victoria.
Unfortunately for Victoria, she was celebrating her 15th birthday during the pandemic. But prior to that, you had hired the defendant to do the photography and videography for the quinceañera.
Correct.
In what month was your daughter supposed to celebrate her birthday, sir?
April.
And you retained the defendant's services on what date?
November 15th of 2019.
When did you finally retain him? Because you came to a figure, and the figure that you came to with him was $750.
When we gave him the deposit.
Of $750?
$750.
And what was the total amount to be?
$1,750.
Case is a relatively simple one. The party had to be canceled because of COVID restrictions.
Correct.
And you tried to get a refund from Mr. Saints.
Yes.
And you were unsuccessful in getting a refund from him. And then it was your daughter's 16th birthday.
Yes.
And since she missed her 15th big celebration, you thought that the family could now have a smaller celebration in April of 2021, and you asked Mr. Saints if he would take photographs of that.
Yes.
Where was that held?
At our home, it was just myself, my wife, and my daughter. We weren't really getting into having a party.
When you called him to come and take those pictures of her 16th birthday, tell me about the conversation with regard to payment.
Well, we had asked them if we would be able to get a refund, but if we could work something out where we can maybe get a few photos and maybe deduct something from the refund, since he was having a hard time coming up with the money. And he said, don't worry, I'll take care of you.
Okay, so without any further discussion, you had him come to your home and take photographs on...
It was actually January.
Got it. Okay, so he came to the house in January. What time did you get to the house, Mr. Saints?
About 1:30, 1:45.
And what time did you leave?
It was maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock or so.
And during that 2-hour period, he was there primarily taking photographs of yourself, your wife, and your daughter?
Correct.
When he left, he told you he would provide you with photographs?
Correct.
Did he do that?
Partially.
When you say partially, what did he provide you with?
53 pictures and 2 minutes and 53 seconds of video on email.
Yeah, that's the way people do it these days.
Correct.
Okay, so you have those photographs?
Not physically. He said that we can go to Walmart and have them printed.
Okay. Do you have the photographs?
I have some photographs.
May I see them, please? Did you go to Walmart and have them printed?
We never got the thumb drive that he promised.
Just a second. Mr. Saints, did you deliver them a thumb drive?
I did not. I emailed all the photos and the video.
Okay. Well, these are beautiful photographs, sir. Did you look at all the photographs that he emailed you?
Yes.
Well, they're lovely, and you look beautiful.
Thank you.
Mr. Castillo, you were asking for your refund of your deposit. He was at your house for 2 hours. He sent you 53 photographs. He took video. Why would you think that you're entitled to your deposit back? For $750, he came to your house, which means he traveled to your house. I don't know where you live. Where do you live?
Corona.
Where do they live?
Like Maria, it's about an hour.
So he had an hour travel time each way. That's 2 hours. And he spent 2 hours with you. In addition to that, he provided you with 50 photographs that I assume had to have some work done on them.
Yeah.
Because they always do. Yeah. And he provided you with video. So the man worked for 4 hours and he provided you with a product. Why in the world do you think he is responsible for giving you $750 back?
Well, because we only received 2 minutes and 53 seconds of video.
And
53 pictures and no thumb drive.
Well,
how are we going to print up the pictures that you have in your hand without the thumb drive to take the...
Listen, I am so challenged when it comes to doing that. I am so challenged. But I know if you send them by email that you can take them in to someone at a CVS. They do that, Mr. Castillo, for old people in Florida. We go in there as if we haven't a clue. We walk in, they say, can somebody help us? We have pictures that are locked in our phone, and we don't know how to work this machine. And some young person comes over, and 1, 2, 3, they shove something from your phone into a machine, and they press a couple of buttons, and voila, out spits out 50 pictures. It's like magic. It's like a genie. And then you say, thank you very much. You give them $20 for their trouble. And that's how you, Mr. Castillo, that's how you do it. You take the email, you take it in, and you say to them, I have this. Could you help me? I'm old and I'm like Judge Scheindlin. I don't know what I'm doing. Could you fix it for me? Is there any way, Mr. Saints, just for my own information, is there any way that you can take this, because he seems to know something, because he said thumb drive. Now, I have heard that term before, and I actually know it looks like a fob or something. Is there any way that you could send him that?
I could, yes.
Mr. Saints, I want you to be a saint. That might be easier for him. Because what he says is, if he had that, he would know what to do with it. He doesn't know what to do with it with an email, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Would you take care of that?
Of course.
How long will that take you to take care of that, to send him a thumb?
You'll get it in 2 days in his house.
Promise me?
I swear.
Very good. You have no case against him, Mr. Castillo. Your case is dismissed. You get that to him. Otherwise, I'm coming to look for you.
You got it.
Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
All right. I feel that if we would have got the thumb drive from the very beginning instead of waiting all these years, we wouldn't be here today.
I am very happy with the decision that Judge Judy made.
Finally, we'll get some, end result with the work he put into it, and we'll actually physically have it so we can use it.
I'll send the thumb drive to Mr. Castillo, and that way they'll get going with their life, and I will with mine.
All those people seemed lovely, and I think the plaintiffs were trying to get their money back because they were unable, because of COVID, like so many other people, to have this special celebration. But I think that the deposit that they did pay is pretty similar to what they would have paid for this sort of photo shoot, for 50 or so photos, a little videography. They sort of canceled each other out, and I don't think the plaintiffs realized that until you pointed it out to them.
You know, sometimes you need somebody in life, you need somebody to blame for something. You can't blame COVID for the fact that your daughter didn't have this once-in-a-lifetime event of transitioning at age 15. So it was easier to blame this photographer. And they really got professional pictures, and they got professional pictures in their home, custom, with a thumb drive.
How to get it printed.
Yes, with a thumb drive for $700. I think that was fair.
Yeah, I do too.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Because did you find on all the apps that sent you money?
A few different people.
He's a member of over 50 different groups.
I felt like it was easy. I could get away with it.
Because you really don't care what other people feel. You're really a sociopath.
This is Judy Justice. "17-year-old Luke Stein is suing his former neighbor, 19-year-old Gabriel Reyes, for unpaid loans given through a social media app."
Court come to order.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1121, Stein versus Reyes.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Stein, this case is about the return of money that you gave to Mr. Reyes. And what I'd like you to do is explain to me how and when you met him.
Back on July the 19th of 2020, the defendant, Mr. Reyes, made a post on the social media platform Nextdoor.
What is Nextdoor?
Sure, Nextdoor is a social media platform that enables neighbors to connect with each other. So you can maybe connect with neighbors about a lost pet that someone found. You can recommend a local restaurant, maybe find a yoga group to do yoga with. So it's essentially a way that neighbors can connect with neighbors and make connections with each other.
When did you first join?
I joined Nextdoor back in 2017.
How old were you when you joined?
When I joined, I was 13.
Did you connect with just neighbors?
Just neighbors.
From the time you were 13 on, were you a regular visitor to that site?
I was relatively inactive on Nextdoor.
Inactive?
Correct.
What happened in July of 2020 on the 19th? How old were you in July?
16.
Okay.
And the defendant, he made a post on the main feed. So
Do you have it?
Unfortunately, I don't.
Is there any reason why you don't have it?
Yes, I tried locating that post, and I believe it may have been deleted by the defendant, which is why I couldn't locate it. So if the defendant deletes the post.
Do you have the ability to delete posts that you post?
No, what had happened is I moved neighborhoods, and when you move neighborhoods, all the posts from your other neighborhoods get deleted automatically.
Well, they have to know that you moved, so you have to advise them.
Yes, I changed.
Just a second. So you changed it, and it was all deleted. How old are you, Mr. Reyes?
19.
So in July of 2020, you were 17 or 18?
18, I believe, at that time.
Well, then I'm going to ask you, do you remember the post that introduced you to Mr. Stein in July of 2020?
Yes, ma'am. So at the time, I did not have a job, so I was looking around the neighborhood and doing little odd jobs. And I had broke my phone, and I had logged into my mother's phone and post on there, can anyone, give
Not
me...
You logged in on your mother's phone to the neighborhood website.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said...
Can anyone give me money for a phone?
And did the plaintiff respond?
He had private messaged me and asked, do I currently have a job?
How do you private message? I don't understand.
When you click on somebody's profile, it'll say send a message, and you just click it and you'll type them what you want to tell them.
So that's what you call a private message?
Yes.
As opposed to a public message that you post?
A public message is say they post something, and if you click reply, then you reply to them and everybody can see it. Private, only you and the person can see it.
Is there a book that gives you all these rules? I'm being serious with you. It's so frightening to my generation to have to know about all these rules. I know I sometimes will be sitting with one of my grandchildren and I'll want to look up something and they'll scream at me, don't do that, they'll know that you're watching them. I just want to find out how old they are. Or something, some piece of trivia. Because I didn't know that if you press something, other people or the person who has posted something can see that you're reading it. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Close?
Yes, yes.
I need a social media monitor. I think there are many in my generation that need social media monitors. Okay, so Mr. Reyes, you're 18, he's 16. Can anyone give me money for a phone? Did you get more than one response or just one?
No.
Only one?
One response.
Okay, and do you remember what he responded to you?
He had asked me, do you have a job? Will you be able to pay me back? And I said, no, we're in the middle of a COVID pandemic. I don't have any means of income. And he loaned me the money anyways and felt sympathy and still loaned me the money.
Well, you said those two things. That's very interesting. Would you go back to what he said in the beginning about needing a phone and his phone broke?
He said, I broke my phone and logged into my mother's phone and posted on there.
Okay, what did he say before that, what he was doing?
He said, I did not have a job, so I was looking around the neighborhood and doing odd jobs.
Okay, so that's what I thought you said. You were doing odd jobs in the neighborhood.
Yes.
You're on.
And just a second, what kind of odd jobs?
I was trying to locate whether it be mowing yards.
Oh, just a second. So you were mowing lawns.
Yes, ma'am.
What else were you doing around the neighborhood?
I was walking people's pets. I was washing
You were
cars.
just a second. You were pet sitting.
Yes, ma'am.
You were washing cars. Were you going to school?
No, ma'am.
So you were making money doing odd jobs. Okay. How much money did he give you?
He had given me $54
And how did he get that money to you?
through Cash App at that time.
Did you ever meet him?
No.
Is this the first time you're meeting him?
In person, yes.
So he Cash Apped you $54.
It was $57.
Okay. Does that sound right?
Yes,
57. And that was in
July 19th.
July of 2020. When did you come back to the well?
I came back and I had asked him, hey, can you give me more money? It was kind of
On
just
what date?
The next month, actually.
In August?
Yes.
Well, did you buy a phone in July?
I had bought a phone in July and the phone didn't end up shipping, so I had asked for more so I could get another one because it didn't even ship to me.
How much did you ask him for in August?
57 again.
56.
When did you go back to the well again?
I had asked another time for $25.
Month and year.
It was same time in August. I had asked for $25.
So now you see you had a sucker.
Yes, ma'am.
but a sucker with a little bit. How many suckers did you find on all the apps that you were on? How many? Stop and think before you answer my question. How many suckers did you find on any app that sent you little bits of money in 2020?
A few different people.
Yeah, and they sent you small amounts of money, but you came back regularly. How did I know that? Do you know how I know that? Because when dishonest people commit bad acts, and if they get caught the first time and have some sort of consequence, they don't do it again. That's my history in the justice system.
I did try to use him because I felt like it was easy.
Social media made you anonymous. It can make you an anonymous thief, or it could make you an anonymous bully, so that you can do all the bad things that, according to you, you would never do in person.
"17-year-old Luke Stein claims his former neighbor, 19-year-old Gabriel Reyes, owes for unpaid loans given through a social media app."
You get caught the first time you burglarize somebody's house and you get thrown into jail for a couple of days, and I don't care if you're 14 or 20, you think twice about burglarizing another house. But if you go to court and they say, "We don't want you to do that again," I said, "That was easy. I made $900. I got cash, I got jewelry, I sold it, no consequence. I'm going to try that again." And if you do it again, and this time they say, "This time I really mean it. Next time there's going to be a consequence." And next time nothing happens. And then you wind up with a 15-year-old that murders 3 people. Do you understand? That's the rule. That's common sense. If you do something and there's no consequence, society doesn't impose a consequence, people think that that's okay to do. You can scam as many people as you like, and you figured out, Mr. Reyes. I mean, I'm listening to you, and you thought I was actually looking at your history in here, so you said, "Well, I better tell her the truth." That's a skill that I learned over the years. But I knew that if you did it with him half a dozen times successfully, and you can do it anonymously because you don't even have to look at him, then there are other suckers out there that say, "Oh, this poor kid, he's looking for a job. He doesn't have a phone. If he had a phone, he could find a job. You know, he could post things, and people would give him jobs mowing the lawn and babysitting. And meanwhile, you're laying in your bed using social media to have several people send you enough so you can get by." Don't you think that that's sort of outrageous conduct, Mr. Reyes?
I was actually looking for jobs, but I felt like, yes, I did try to use him because I felt like it was easy. I could get away with it, you know. We started talking, it was kind of like I didn't have to meet him in person. So it was a lot easier to ask for something. I'm not the type to ask for something, but...
Social media made you anonymous. Is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what happens. Social media made you anonymous. It can make you an anonymous thief, or it can make you an anonymous bully. It can make you anonymous so that you can do all the bad things that, according to you, you would never do in person. You would think twice about doing it in person. So you would say social media gave you a bad lesson, taught you something that was morally wrong, right? On well-meaning apps, the neighborhood, what could be better? Mr. Rogers, the neighborhood. You can connect, find your lost dog, find somebody to help you move, find somebody who needs you to help them move. All of those things are wonderful. And then you find somebody, and you look, actually, you don't look like a bad guy, and you fessed up when you thought I had the goods on you anyway. Then you can find a predator. Now, I'm not suggesting that your conduct was predatory, although a little bit, because you were looking around for suckers, and you found them. Unfortunately for you, your sucker was a minor, so you have to return to him all the money that he gave you, because a minor is not allowed to make a contract. How much did you give him altogether?
This is all that I gave him. Every single one of these is a transaction from Cash App.
I assume you added them up.
I have the total that he owes me, not how much I gave him in total.
Well, what's the difference?
The difference is how much I gave him versus how much he paid, because he did pay me back. So at first, for the first 3 months, he was paying me back, which is why I felt comfortable giving him money.
Oh, so first he gave, this is going to get worse than I thought. So he gave you 57, 56, 25, and then?
So 10, then we have 56.
Give me the date and amount.
July 19th, 57. August 3rd, 56. August 24th, 56 again. August 26th, 10. September 14th, 50. September 25th, 10. November 8th, 20. November 8th, 50. November 12th, 20. November 14th, 37. November 19th, 35. November 19th, 15. November 20th, 26. November 22nd, 25. November 22nd, 30. November 23rd, 2. November 29th, 55. December 3rd, 10. December 6th, 10. December 7th, 5. And at this point, I stop. The rest are requests from him, and I stop approving them.
I'd like to see the requests. Can
Sure.
I see them, please? So what were you out at a pizza place and you needed cash? I mean, what was $5 for? Oh, hold on a second. Then, now we're getting serious. So now you have 10, 5, 25, 50, and request. This was on December 16th for $100. I'll pay you in 2 weeks. I'll owe you $200. Then January 8th, 70, didn't answer him. February 4th, I assume, of this year.
Correct.
Which was 38. Did you actually give him $20 in February?
I did not.
Because it says received. And request to borrow money until Monday, May 7th, just recently.
Yes, that was his latest request.
And he paid you back some. How much did he pay you back?
In total, he paid me back about $400 or $500.
No, I don't want to know about $400 or $500. I want you to take a calculator, figure out how much you gave him and how much he paid back. We're in court. You have to be a grown-up. If you come to court, okay. Do you need a calculator?
Yes, please.
While you're calculating the number, because you have no numbers there, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Reyes, I want you to tell me on what social platforms you are active where you have asked people for money. I want you to think carefully. I want you to tell me on what social platform and what name you use on that social platform to get money from people.
Gabriel Reyes, Facebook.
And you have people put money in what account?
My personal Cash App account.
That says Gabriel Reyes.
Gabriel Reyes.
So you have to use your real name.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when was the last time you posted on Facebook asking for money?
About a month ago.
How much did you get?
Actually didn't get anything. Nobody responded.
Nobody responded. When was the first time you asked for money on Facebook?
When I was 12 years old.
Did you get money when you were 12 years old?
Yes.
When you were 13?
Yes.
When you were 14?
Yes.
See what I mean? You cut it off the first time. All the people that gave you money, because you made up different stories about why you needed money, because you're smart. I mean, you're smart. That doesn't mean you're moral, but you were smart. Other than Facebook, what do you want?
Those are the only, Facebook and Nextdoor were the only two I asked for money on, because on my other profiles, people actually know who I am in person.
Of those two people, one is dead, killed when he was 15, and one is doing life without the possibility of parole since he's 15 years old in solitary. I'm just telling you, it's your choice, your life, you make it.
"17-year-old Luke Stein is accusing his former neighbor, 19-year-old Gabriel Reyes, of refusing to pay back multiple loans made through a social media app.
Did you find his Facebook page?
I didn't. There is a lot of Gabriel Reyes's on Facebook, and I wouldn't be able to see the transactions anyway if they were private messages or if they're on his page, because we're not.
Have your phone?
connected.
Yes.
Bring up your Facebook account. Sarah, would you take his phone? Because you
I'm gonna show
touch
you
that thing better than I do.
Pull up the groups that they're in.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay. Sarah, could you look back in his history and see anywhere he's asking for money?
Sure.
It was through a group on there. It's called It's Only Money. It's where people get on there and ask for money.
You understand what he's saying? Glad you do. It's only money. Did you ever hear of that? It's on Facebook, it's only money. So that's a subtitle on your Facebook account.
That's the group name
That's the group name.
You can create groups on Facebook with other people.
Okay.
He's been a member of It's Only Money since October 27th, 2020. Just waiting for the post to
Yeah,
load.
but he said he's been getting money from Facebook since he's 12. That's 6 years ago.
Different outlets. I'll delete stuff. I'll leave groups, and once you leave groups, you can't see your posts in there anymore.
Well, why would you leave a group that you were getting money from?
People would catch on.
So then you changed it. Well, that's something that Facebook really ought to know about. I mean, they're so vigilant about so many things. They should try to be vigilant about people scamming through a use of their product. Are you listening, Mr. Zuckerberg?
He's a member of over 50 different groups like that. So I can't really go through each individual one.
Well, that sounds pretty right. Did you come up with a figure for me, Mr. Stein?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What's the figure?
I paid him $1,304.
And he paid you back?
$466.
Leaving a net of?
$838 unpaid.
$838. That's for the plaintiff. Mr. Reyes, I certainly hope that your activities shed a light on a flaw in not only your character, but in the character of other people who prey on other people's goodwill and being good citizens and trying to be a good neighbor and trying to be helpful. And then it turns out that they're a sucker. And with people who are savvy on the internet, as it appears that you are at age 18, I say only one thing to you, Mr. Reyes. You are clearly a smart man who has reasonable IQ. You can either use that, and I once said this to a couple of delinquents in the family court who were really smart, and I said to them, you can take that energy and forge it into something positive so that you can leave a positive footprint of yourself on the planet, because you certainly have the capacity to do that. Or you can continue to do what you do because it's an easy way out, and it's really just demonstrates that you're really a sociopath because you really don't care what other people feel, you know. And what I'm going to tell you is, though, of those two people, and we're talking about 40 years ago, one is dead, killed when he was 15, and one is doing life without the possibility of parole since he's 15 years old in solitary. I'm just telling you, it's your choice, your life, you make it. We're done.
Your Honor, I have one other thing.
The case is now over.
Okay.
Court is adjourned.
I think it was a good decision. I like how she talked with the defendant a lot about his actions.
Happy with her decision.
How they were wrong. I definitely appreciate her talking with him about that.
It was a lot of just my own fault because I wasn't smart enough to not get caught.
Just the fact that he might do this again, I think that's highly likely. Not only taking advantages of minors.
A lot of it was I forgot to delete things.
But just people in general. My generosity, taking advantage of that, it's just extremely disappointing.
I'll take her advice.
I definitely hope he takes the judge's advice, and overall, I am pleased with her decision.
You know, I like to think of myself as pretty adept in the social media world, but after looking at his phone and seeing on his own Facebook page that he's a member of 30 to 50 different groups where hundreds of people, hundreds, thousands of people meet, and the group name is just, I need money, or Cash App, or wants, needs, desires, but need money. Things like this. I had no idea that this was an entire subsect of Facebook, and I could see how someone like the plaintiff, especially during the pandemic when you can't meet in person, I could see how, you know, people could prey upon that and get in these groups and just get them on the hook.
Yeah, well, that clearly was this young man's full-time job because he got many people to do it. You don't do something like that unless you are successful. Mm-hmm. And clearly, according to him, he was successful. People gave him lots of little money, but he was so clever. He didn't ask for a lot of money. So if he got 10 people to give him $25, he's made a week's income and he hasn't left his bedroom. Mm-hmm. But I was so serious, you know, and I know that there are a lot of people out there that disagree with the position that I hold, which is if you reinforce bad behavior by positivity, people will replicate that bad behavior. You're not supposed to reinforce that bad behavior without having a negative consequence so that it becomes a learning experience. And this kid started when he was 12 and nothing happened. Mm-hmm. And that's what delinquency is all about, which is where I come from. Mm-hmm. And the system that I think still hasn't found an answer on how to teach young people that there are rules And we live in a society, and society says these are the rules that we're all comfortable with, and if you transgress from those rules, society is going to push back. A negative consequence has to happen. I've been crying this song for 45 years. I hope somebody, sometime, will listen. So far, I haven't seen it.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.